Hi, this is Michael here from the Watch Experts, and today, as part of our Iconic Watches series, we are going to be looking at the Omega Moon Watch and the history behind this iconic watch. Anyone that is interested in the luxury watch world will be familiar with the name Omega and will either own one or have a desire to own a particular model in the collection. Omega have been around a number of years now, and it all started with a young watchmaker named Louis Brandt in 1848 in the little Swiss village of La Chaux-de-Fonds. It was here he started a watch business in his parents' back room that later would become known as Omega, but it wasn't until 46 years later that the name Omega was born. In 1894, this iconic watch house released a new caliber using revolutionary new methods. This movement set a new standard for watchmakers and was way ahead of its time. Not only was this caliber extremely accurate, but every component could be replaced without modification by any watchmaker. We saw the introduction of a stem and crown, which was groundbreaking for its time and is still used on most modern watches today. They named the new achievement Omega, a name that signifies their ultimate accomplishments. The movement was so successful that they renamed the company to Omega Watch Co., which in 1903 they shortened to Omega. It was 54 years after this event, in 1957, that the Speedmaster was launched. However, there was no mention of the moon when it was introduced. The Speedmaster's initial use was as a sports and racing chronograph, complementing Omega's position as the official timekeeper for the Olympic Games at the time. This first Speedmaster model reference was CK2915, also known as the Broad Arrow. This was designed by the Swiss Claude Baillod and was already featuring some of the hallmarks of the model. This included the triple register chronograph layout, the high contrast index markers, and the domed plexiglass crystal. Whenever I peer into the back case of one of these watches, my eyes are given a mesmerizing display of what beauty looks like. The caliber 321 is just a thing of beauty and wouldn't look out of place on a gallery wall. It's just so interesting to look at. Omega first launched the caliber in 1942 as a joint project between Omega and Lemania. The caliber 321 was at the time and is still recognized as one of the best column wheel-controlled chronographs of its time, and was used as a base movement by Breguet, Patek Philippe, and Vacheron Constantin in a variety of their chronographs, which is a testament at how good this caliber was when it was launched to the world. The movement was modified again to improve its performance even further in 1946 by adding protection to magnetic fields and shocks, something that later will prove to be a significant change, which would allow the caliber to pass the NASA tests.
Rockets have been launching men into space for some time now, and eventually we shall land astronauts on the moon and the planets.
In 1964, NASA requested proposals from various watch manufacturers to find a suitable timepiece for astronauts to wear during space missions. Every big watch house wanted to be associated with this historic event, and we saw Rolex submit the 6238, which we know as the Pre-Daytona, and Longines, who submitted two watches, the 242T and 235T. The 242T was one of the three watches that passed the initial screening test by NASA, but as we all know, it was the Omega Speedmaster that was ultimately accepted. The NASA test for the Omega Speedmaster Moon Watch involved extreme conditions to simulate the lunar environment, including temperature, pressure, and acceleration. The watch also had to withstand shock, vibration, and noise. The temperature testing consisted of 48 hours at 160 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 degrees Celsius, then 30 minutes at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, 93 degrees Celsius, followed by 4 hours at 0 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 18 degrees Celsius, which was followed by 15 cycles of heating to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, 71 degrees Celsius, for 45 minutes, then cooling to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 18 degrees Celsius for 45 minutes. 1 year later, on March 1st, 1965, NASA certified the Omega Speedmaster Professional as the only watch for all manned space missions and extravehicular activity (EVA). This made the Speedmaster an essential part of each astronaut's space kit. This is where our story takes an interesting twist, as the first Omega Speedmaster in space happened in 1962, 3 years before NASA certified the Speedmaster for space travel. I know what you're thinking, how is this even possible? Well, in 1962, Wally Schirra wore his own Speedmaster on his Mercury mission on October 3rd, 1962, which is how this very watch became the first Omega in space. The first official Omega Speedmaster in space happened in 1965 on Gemini 3 on March 23rd. 3 months later, Edward White wore his Speedmaster on America's first spacewalk on his Gemini 4 mission. It was, however, 4 years later, on July 21st, 1969, when the steps were taken on the lunar surface that the Speedmaster became known as the Moon Watch. 1 year later, you could say that the Moon Watch saved the lives of the astronauts wearing them when the crew of the Apollo 13 mission used their watches to time critical engine burns that led to the safe return of everyone on the mission. Come on, we all remember the famous scene with Tom Hanks in the movie, don't we? It was the first watch worn on the moon. It's been worn on all 6 lunar landings. It was originally designed for race car drivers. It's one of the most collectible watches in the world. It helped save the lives of the Apollo 13 crew. NASA awarded Omega the Silver Snoopy Award for its role in the Apollo 13 mission. The original Speedmaster, the Speedmaster Professional 105.012, was worn by Buzz Aldrin on the Apollo 11 mission. Neil Armstrong left his own Speedmaster on the lunar module as a backup for a malfunctioning electronic timer. The Speedmaster has been associated with some of the greatest space adventures in history. Don't forget, if you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and be sure to check out our website for loads of pre-loved watches that are screaming out for a new home, and what watch you would like us to focus on for another video. Thanks for watching.